No, so I'm pretty sure I've got it set up right now, so should be all heard. So everybody sound off, just to be sure.
I'm here. I'm speaking.
Tamara?
Damn.
Stiffen?
Arkansas.
Welcome to the podcast with Steven, Tamara, and nobody else.
Yay! Did it not record you before?
No. I only started very
Abruptly?
recently. And I'm just
no.
going to make sure that should probably be appropriate.
In case you didn't wonder, we actually have friends. Yes, there's two of them. There's not just one.
Yeah.
But they're both named Steven.
Yeah, I swear upon my life, there's two people in this room named Steven,
Hell,
and neither of them
kidnapped.
is imaginary.
No,
One of them is kidnapped.
one of them's being held against their will here.
Disclaimer.
You gotta find out which one.
I also, for some reason, still pay rent here.
Mm.
I don't know why I'm doing
That's
that.
got to be the most effective kidnapping in the entire world.
It's kidnapping turned Stockholm Syndrome, but we actually generate a profit from him living here now.
That is both the most genius, real estate scheme that I've ever heard, and also just the most disturbing one.
You're welcome.
Man, yeah. So there you go. If you want tenants, just
Kidnap
kidnap them until they get Stockholm Syndrome, and then pay
Rent. Pay off your mortgage for you.
Pay off your mortgage for you in your shitty one-bedroom house.
You know, the sad thing is, in all its years of running, I'm pretty sure there's at least one Simpsons episode that has done that.
That did kidnapping and Stockholm Syndrome?
Kidnapping and Stockholm Syndrome paying rent.
Oh,
I feel like that is a Simpsons thing to do.
Mm.
Like, if the Simpsons didn't do it, South Park did it.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%.
Like, merely because they've both been running for so long, and I feel like that's a very basic bad joke. Not bad, but bad is in the sense of, oh, that bad humor.
Oh, yeah, like dark
black
humor.
Yeah.
With dark humor.
Yeah, gosh, Steven, we're an inclusive space.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, wow. We're doing this.
The joke started coming. I mean, there's something in every episode. What was the weird thing we said last episode that you may or may not have edited out?
I don't recall.
The whole
You
thing.
say a lot of weird shit.
I mean,
every so often you make reference to the freaking, genocide joke, like you're so proud of it.
Wait, what?
watch episode 1 to find out what it is. Oh, no, episode 2.
It was episode 2, yeah.
Oh my.
I'm not really gonna get into it because it's a part of my life that I'd rather not revisit. But let's just say that it's kind of like if Tamara had a weird, deformed baby with 3 legs and 1 eye. And she's just showing it around like it's the best thing ever.
Speaking of weird things that I'm oddly proud of, I had the best dream last night.
Okay.
The best dream last night. So, my mom works for a charity music festival, and in my dream, it started off that my mom started doing shady business with this, Instagram famous girl who somehow was in business with my mom running this music festival, but also selling phone cases, because that's what the Instagram model does. And they were running out of what was supposed to be my basement, but it was sketchier because it was turned into a mini warehouse. And then James Franco as Tommy Wiseau showed up.
What?
Oh,
that is
no.
a thing now.
Yeah,
It is a
that's
thing
now.
And yeah, he's playing him in The Disaster Artist.
Yep.
This
for
is a
those-
disaster.
For those who don't know, Tommy Wiseau was the director of The Room, ultimately one of the worst movies ever made, but also
Hey.
one of the best movies ever
Excuse
made.
you.
One of the best movies.
Oh no,
ever.
I love The Room.
The
I'm not
Room is
saying.
a fucking masterpiece of modern cinema.
I mean, what other movie was shot all during the San Francisco Golden Hour?
That's true. But anyways,
Oh my god.
so James Franco
Who
as
could-
Tommy Wiseau was head of the Yakuza, which was somehow what my mom started doing business with.
Oh.
And so then when I found out that my mom was doing business with the Yakuza and Tommy Wiseau, but it's James Franco,
Did she
we ended up having to move to China.
Did she have to beat a Yakuza gang lord at DDR in order to win you guys' freedom?
No, instead we had to move to China. But to
Okay.
try to stay, we had to leave
Play
my
DDR
dad
China.
behind.
Hmm?
We had to leave my dad behind because he didn't know, so to protect him, we decided to leave him behind. So then to try to stay, I told them that I was pregnant. And then they, it got really weird after that. Then they're like, prove it. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I had just eaten a big meal, so I showed them my stomach. And then Tommy Wiseau, but James Franco was like, good enough, come to China with us. You're now head of operations.
What the fuck?
And that's how I moved to China and became head of the Yakuza with Tommy Wiseau.
Alright. Just smarter things.
Oh, wow.
That was
That's,
one of the particularly weird ones.
Sometimes I feel like I need to transcribe the shit you say.
You can start a Twitter account. We do have a Twitter account. Follow us
Yeah.
on Twitter. Our podcast sucks.
Which I'm going to at some point make into shit Tamara says, essentially.
I mean, we're technically doing a whole section of that in today's podcast.
Yeah.
I have a list. My friends in high school started keeping a list just because some of the shit that had come out of my mouth was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very... oh, well, okay. Okay, we're probably good. My computer is getting a little bit of the old dyslexia. Anyway, what we were going to actually talk about, I guess words and pronunciations that we hate in English, because we're not going to talk about other languages, because that just...
We're getting into that afterwards.
Yeah, it's
But,
a whole nother freaking can of worms.
But before we do that, Stevens, why don't you introduce yourself in 3 words? Or you can introduce each other in 3 words. Let's introduce each other in 3 words.
Okay.
Okay, Steven, why don't you introduce other Steven in 3 words?
Good cook.
There's a hyphen there.
I'll take that.
Okay.
You said three words
3
is very
words.
hard.
3
I
words
know,
is
it's a
incredibly
challenge.
hard.
Fine. Do you want 4 words?
Sure.
I mean, I could chime in and really get to tomorrow on this one for 3.
Yeah.
No, we're doing this. This is one Steven at a time, Steven, okay?
All I was
Let
gonna
Steven
say-
do the work.
All I was going to say is ballet is art.
That also works. But
Good
here-
cook,
here-
ballet is
here.
art. That's 4 words.
Yeah, basically.
No,
that's actually
no.
5.
We'll make it. Instead of that, we'll make it 5 words. Ballet is not a sport.
Oh, you warned me. We'll discuss that a little
Not my
later.
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, man.
We just had a 2.5-hour conversation, the Stevens and I, about whether or not it was a sport or not, and we called other people, including Adam. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Alright, other Steven, describe Steven in 4 words. And you can't use ballet is not a
Can I get 5 as well, because that one was 5?
Fine.
Why am I the mediator?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
fits.
That's actually really good.
Yeah. For context, I live with both Stevens in a wonderful, happy home.
Yeah. And it never gets confusing.
Surprisingly enough, it doesn't
Yeah,
really.
Not really that bad.
I mean, it's easy for us.
Yeah.
I mean, the one time it was confusing was when I yelled out Steven, and then both of you showed up in my room to help me look for my computer case. But that ended up being a good thing because we couldn't find my computer case anywhere, and it took 3 people for me to find it. I'm really bad at finding things.
You kind of get used to it.
I mean, I live with 2 Jacobs, and it somehow never got confusing. Because I think there was almost always a difference in the tone that you used with either Jacob. Uncannily so. If you called one Jacob specifically and you had the picture of which Jacob you wanted to call in your mind, that one would come and the other one would ignore you. It was uncanny. I don't know. Maybe there was some difference in the way that we communicated with them, but it was weird.
Tamara tends to text me in the house.
It's
Well.
also more of Steven, Steven, can you help me? That's usually when I talk to you. When I talk to the other Steven, it's more of a casual conversation. Or I always come to you with very weird questions or weird tidbits because you show up randomly after stuff's happened, and I'm always like, "Here's a fun fact for you."
I mean, my favorite one is still getting home from work. It's at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and all I get is this panic phone call from Tamara asking about how to get out of No, it was your friend getting a ticket, skipping transit fares.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's a bunch of you there trying to figure out what's going on, and you're calling me, and everyone is vaguely drunk.
I was sober. I was just tired. Yeah, it was a Friday night. I went to my favorite bar with one of my friends who lives in downtown Toronto, and she and her friend had preed beforehand, and the other girl she was with was on acid, and she was pretty with it, but she was on acid. That was the only thing that was really coming through in most sentences. So I was like, shit, I have to deal with this now because I'm sober. Because my friend was really drunk and she forgot to pay. for the transit system, so she got caught, and then she got a $230 ticket. Which, like, luckily she has a full-time job, so she was okay, but she was just really scared and shocked. So I was like, man, who's the most adult friend I have? Steven.
God, that's sad.
Yeah.
God, that's sad.
We refer to one of the Stevens lovingly as Daddy Steven frequently.
Especially when we order food from it.
Yeah, thankfully it's not me.
Yeah.
How did that go over at work, by the way?
Yeah,
I had
tell
a
us the
server
story.
/ the floor manager walk on over to me, seemed really, really confused. The poor girl had no idea how to deal with the fact that someone had actually sent to the Skip the Dishes note a message saying, please have Daddy Steven cook this for us.
Adam and I ordered from the restaurant that Steven works at, and decided to be little shits. We left special instructions for them.
The best part about it is because of how it works, that got printed off on the chit as well.
So the entire line.
I was very happy that the only ones who actually saw that on the line were people that knew and liked me, and not the people that didn't like me.
We had to ban that nickname in one of our group chats once because it got a little too sexual at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was in an exec council.
Okay. This I had not heard of.
Yeah, that's where the nickname started.
Look,
Oh.
I'm not getting any younger, folks. I don't need to be reminded of my age, and let's face it, the only time I want to have anything call me daddy, it's going to be if I have a kid.
Ugh.
Or partner. You never know.
No.
Don't
No.
kink shame, Steven. Don't kink shame.
I'm not kink shaming. This is my choice.
Can that be the title of the episode? I'm not kink shaming. This is my choice.
Sure. At
Brackets,
least of this.
furries, not clickbait.
Wait, what?
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 We're
No.
putting it on YouTube, so we gotta make it clickbait.
No.
I'm not kink shaming. This is my choice.
Furries.
Open bracket, furries, close bracket, all in caps, not clickbait, exclamation mark, tilde. That's how you get the views on YouTube, kids. Other brackets, Jake Paul confirmed.
Other brackets, no. What the fuck?
That's how we're gonna become internet famous from this episode, guys.
Hashtag Stockholm Syndrome.
Well, wait, are you
That's
saying
what
that
this
I
is.
have Stockholm Syndrome?
No,
Or
that
you?
I have Stockholm Syndrome still being here.
I think we all do at this point.
Yeah. We're only, 4 episodes in and we're committed?
Ugh. Barf.
Bless
Yeah.
you.
Professional.
We talked about
I'm
memes
a
for
man
40
at his
minutes
workplace.
last time. We've passed professional.
Oh yeah, there's no professionalism here.
This is podcasting.
Yes. Anyway, what we were originally going to bring up before we started talking about Daddy Steven,
Words we hate, like,
oh yeah,
are there any words that just make your skin fucking crawl when
Properly.
someone says it?
Despacito. No, I'm kidding.
Despacito.
God.
What?
Despacito.
Oh, that makes me true. Any kind of like puns that have to do with like you know how people who like are very much in a relationship and are like very sickly sweet make like puns with stuff like honey or like darling or bear or something.
No!
That
I
makes
have
me
no
want
idea
to.
how that feels.
That
Please, keep going.
Is it
For everyone's reference here, the three of us kind of just looked at Tamara.
What's up, hello?
I'm sorry, Tamara, but it sends shivers up my spine.
We're my significant other and I are pretty fucking gross. We've been dating
Little
3
bit.
years and it just gets grosser every year.
The PDA isn't bad.
We're not PDA
No,
yet.
you're not that bad for that.
We like we'll hold hands or like we'll sit beside each other, but we're not like making out in public because we're both relatively weird. Like we're both, I wouldn't say like uncomfortable with physical signs of like affection in public. We just have like limits to what we're both okay with. So like quick pecks on the cheek, yeah. Anything more than that's kind of uncomfortable for both of us. But we're verbally gross.
Oh no, don't worry. Your PDA levels are fine. I went worse than that one time with gay chicken.
Yeah, you did. You
What?
did. He played gay chicken with and
Oh.
almost made out, and I have
Hey.
it on camera.
Oh
It's
my
really-
god.
What?
Yeah, because I'm like, I had my phone out and I was filming it for some reason, and then they
Oh
both
my.
just played gay chicken and kissed each other. It was cute.
I
It
mean,
does-
No.
I played
Actually,
Gay
hold on.
Chicken with
Confirmation
Victor,
here.
There you
Confirmation. Does it count as gay chicken if one of the people playing is bi?
Ooh.
It still does.
Yes.
You're still like, I don't know. Like you can just go further if you're bi.
You can immediately win if you're bi.
Yeah.
I feel like you have the advantage if you're bi.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's. I mean, you can say that it's very much gay chicken, but like that's like pros allowed gay chicken.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
at a certain point, it becomes less gay chicken and more who can just straight up unabashedly do gay things.
It's.
Darling, I am fabulous.
I thought you were gonna go with like that
internet,
becomes.
right? Just a
There's
disclaimer.
lots of me talking on the internet.
Alright.
It may. I mean, it may, depending on.
With the editing gods
Yeah, I
being
don't know.
favorable.
I just don't know. I don't know. Should this be just bonus footage for people who throw money at us, or I don't know.
That's
we'll
up
see.
to you.
We can
Whatever.
talk about it afterwards. But anyways, words that make our skin crawl.
So
We'll start off with just English words, and then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
go into other mispronounced shit.
yeah,
So Adam is gross, coupley puns.
coupley puns / yeah, that kind of like.
Tamara, in general.
I've never had a problem with PDAs, but the words like so discomfort me.
So then, okay, you have a significant other. Then like, how do you show affection with words aside from the usual, like "I love you," "You're wonderful"? Like, do you have any pet names for each other that you're comfortable sharing? If
To
pet
be
names is what
perfectly
you're referring to.
To be perfectly honest, virtually no.
No.
Virtually, if for all intents and purposes, it's actually very difficult for people to externally, even going through our messages. I think it would be very difficult for somebody to externally be able to tell that myself and my girlfriend are dating.
Yeah,
Like-
you're pretty calm about it.
It's sometimes almost unsettlingly so, but yeah, that's just the kind of people that we are, I think.
I was Wolfie at one point, so
I remember that. That was your name on my phone for like 3 weeks.
my middle name is Wolfgang.
Oh,
Doesn't that's a very Steven thing. Like, it's a little pretentious, but it works.
To be fair, it was supposed to be my first name.
If that was your first name, I don't know if I could take
No,
you
no.
seriously.
Okay, quick little bit of story time here. Before I was born, my family was constantly getting harassed by extended family about what the hell they were going to name their lovely, lovely spawn that was eventually going to be me.
mm-hmm.
My parents had no clue for the longest time. They got just fed up, and at one point my dad snapped and said, Wolfgang. His name is going to be Wolfgang. And it was quiet, and no one asked anything for a good little bit. My parents thought they had gone and, slipped under the radar now. Then a couple of the more artistic friends of theirs started sending little gifts. There was a painting that had Wolfie on the bottom of it. A couple of towels got sent with Wolfie stitched into the body, stitched in. All those nice little baby things that you'd send people, just like nice little gifts. My parents realized, shit, we need to keep this. And my mother refused to let me be named Wolfgang as my first name because, I quote, oh, he's going to get picked on by the kids in school because he's going to have a different name. And it's, no, Mom, I wanted Wolfgang as a first name.
You
So
did?
instead, I got Steven.
Although it's funny too, because like when I think Wolfgang, maybe it's just a me thing. I think of Wolfgang Puck, who's a famous chef, and Stephen Cooks, and that just would have been really perfect.
Yeah.
I used to also get called Mozart, which was ironic as all hell because I have no musical talent at all.
Ha, because Wolfgang Amadeus
Mozart! Yes.
Yes.
Alright.
That,
Thank you for elucidating that for
that
those
was
of
the
us who
point
don't
tonight.
know basic history of music.
There's a girl in my music history class who didn't know what the French Revolution was, so
what?
you can
Yeah, but
never
she
assume.
probably knew who Wolfgang Mozart was,
Yes,
or
but she
Wolfgang
couldn't
Amadeus
tell the difference
Mozart.
between the American Civil War and the War of Independence. She
Mm.
didn't know she didn't know that one included slavery and one didn't.
Okay, that's
You
a
can't
completely.
assume
That's a
at a
complete.
university level.
I guess, but I don't know, man. Do you really think that it's? I feel like it's common knowledge that that Mozart's first two names, or first name and middle name, were Wolfgang Amadeus.
Yes, but imagine if you grew up in a I think your parents have to have had some sort of inkling or appreciation of classical music, because I have plenty of friends who don't know that. Like, they're cultured people per se, but they don't know fuck all about classical music because their parents didn't give two shits about it.
Mm.
And I feel like for certain things, there's a guy in my music class who doesn't who couldn't pronounce Tchaikovsky. And
Oh.
that's one of the pretty basic ones. Like, yes, it's a hard pronunciation, but like you can't especially because it's with general history and even with like musical history, you can't assume shit. I've learned. You just can't assume shit. On that topic, other Steven, what is a word that makes your skin crawl?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. There hasn't
Cup
really been
soles.
much. I guess that one irritates me because it's not really like it's. there's
People
no.
People compare Cuphead to Dark Souls.
People compare fucking everything
Oh,
to Dark
God.
Souls. It's stupid.
That exam was like Dark Souls. I died so many times.
It's fucking stupid.
This
So many
that's
things.
it's just like oh, is the game at least
Does the
somewhat
game
challenging?
has
Dark
any
Souls.
difficulty? Yeah.
Dark
It's
Souls.
Stupid.
Dark
And it's
Souls
just-
is pretty challenging.
Yeah, no, but it's an extremely weak and just like there's no
That's the
comparison.
only connecting point is that the game has difficulty. It's besides that.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
so it's like
not
an
enough to
arbitrary
compare it.
definition.
it's a very like you can just say the game is hard. Cuphead is hard. Like Dark Souls is also hard, but comparing the two gives a sort of like weird, like thoughtless kind of. It's hard to describe why it irritates us so much, but
It's because of the fact that they're using it as its own genre at this point, where they're trying to apply those definitions and essentially the genre conventions to other things that it just doesn't apply to.
Mm.
Like, mechanically, you can have all the stuff of Dark Souls, and you can put it in anything else. It'll work. It would then be Dark Souls. You could just change the setting.
mm-hmm. Well,
However-
Bloodborne, case in point.
Exactly. But you can't just have a difficult game and call that Dark Souls. You can't just have a game that's got a respawn mechanic and call it Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Because it's just using one aspect instead of actually being the genre.
Yeah, exactly. It's a false comparison that's just really, really irritating to hear.
Yep.
Simply because like it's dumb. It's dumb.
It's done. That's all there is to it. It's stupid, and people who use that comparison are not thinking at all.
Shame on you people.
Shame on all you people. As I was discussing earlier, also I feel the need to bring this up. Skeletal. Who says skeletal?
But that's just stupidly pronounced words. Like that's I can't even mispronounce aesthetically.
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 I
Instead
heard-
of aesthetically.
I mean, I've heard someone mispronounce library a few times, and that one just kills me
What?
for the irony of it.
What?
What? What do you-
Livrier.
What did you say?
Livrier or something like that.
Libri.
That's just so like that's I would assume they're being ironic at that point.
I hope, but at the same time, the people that I've dealt with that have done this have an intelligence level that I would not expect, you know. I
That
have
sounds
no
like
idea.
they're trying to go for a really like stupid way of saying library in Latin, but failed.
Or like French. Stupid.
Archipelago versus Archipelagio. That one too kind of grinds my gears.
That just puts in mind the image of just like if you took the Bellagio hotel, but just put Archipelagio all over the front of it,
One definitely.
and then just under that a picture of Andy Garcia with his vein just like bulging from his forehead, like wanting to leap forth and destroy this monstrosity.
Although the one.
This is not my hotel.
The one that.
Where
really,
the fuck is my hotel?
The one that
It's not
really
that.
grinds my gears, like really grinds my gears. I've said this earlier, but I feel like we kind of started discussing this a little before, but the word panties,
Mhm.
because of the way it's used, generally by creepy dudes asking, what, like, are you wearing panties today? What are your panties like? Maybe it's my own experiences, but whenever that word has been used, it's always in a really fucking creepy way.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to talk about nice underwear, that's lingerie. Normally it's just underwear, but when you specifically say panties, like, I'm just like, no, fuck you. Second of all, fuck you. Third of all, get the fuck away.
So I've learned two things from this. One, using the French term makes everything infinitely less creepy. And two, saying the word panties gets tomorrow's panties in a knot.
Hey.
Not as bad as
Hey.
a porch cayenne, but, like, it's just like, I will ignore you.
Yeah.
And, like, if you're using that as, this also connects to something we'll talk about later, if you're using that to try to, like, hit on a girl, and I've talked to other friends, and most of them are just like, yeah, it kind of creeps me out. Like, they don't hate it, but it's creepy. Like, that's a dating faux pas.
Yeah. To be perfectly fair, as a dude, I have never used the word panties in a non, like, talking about sex context. It's exclusively,
Underwear.
well, yeah, if you're talking about something practically, like, it's underwear, I've even used, the word thong in a less sexual manner.
Like,
Like-
thong doesn't sound as sexualized as the word panties.
Yeah,
That's
especially
dumb.
since thong is specifically just like it's a specific type of underwear, right?
It's like
there's
boxers,
a specific.
but
or that.
panties isn't a type of underwear.
Is boxers a sexual-ish term?
No,
Okay.
Not really.
not
All
really. Like, I think maybe because the female articles of clothing are more sexualized in society,
Mm.
but the word panties, like, that could be referring to anything from, like, if we're going into specifics, that could mean a G-string, that could mean completely lace underwear, that could be a thong, that could be a bikini, like, it's not referring to one thing, so I don't get why you would use the word. Why not use a more specific word? But again, the only times it's usually used is in a very sexualized way, and it's usually creepy. Because again, at least in my experience, girls don't say, yeah, look at my panties today. It's always a guy calling them panties, and there's always this, like, hesitation, like it's a taboo word, like, oh, panties, because it's girls' underwear, versus girls are just like, yo, look at my underwear. It has flowers, or bows on it, or it's crotchless. Like, we're much more chill about it.
There was a little bit of jump there.
Both mine and Steven's heads kind of did the whole turtle thing,
It wasn't even
where we
turtle, it was
just
just
whoa,
But,
okay,
like,
that escalated.
yeah.
when girls talk about it, it's not in, like, I mean, it can be, but for the most part, when, like, women are talking to their friends about it, regardless of their sexual orientation, it's very chill.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially when you're walking around with crotchless underwear.
I mean,
What the fuck is wrong with you as a gender?
I mean,
Why?
I can't tell you
Why does
why.
that exist?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does that?
You tell me.
What
Can you-
purpose
You
does
tell
that
me,
serve?
apparently
What,
guys love it.
crotchless underwear, you mean? Or running around showing each other their underwear?
I mean, like, you had friends we've had mutual friends who we've both been in the same room together, and female friends have been like, look at my bra, and it's been in a totally not sexual way, but somehow if it's like, let me show you my panties, it's like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, even if I showed a friend a pair of underwear I bought, I'm like, look, like, yo, I got this cute pair of underwear. Like, any other women out there, feel free to comment, have you ever used the word panties in a non-sexual way?
Don't stare pointedly at me when you
I
say
just
that.
Have you ever?
No.
Clearly, the most knowledgeable on
Out
this subject.
But,
of all the people sitting here, yes. Clearly.
but yeah, no, like, I've had friends tell me, like, yeah, I just bought some sick lingerie, it's great, let me, like, tell you about it, or, like, show you what it is, in just, like, a chill way. Like, again, regardless of their sexual orientation, it's just a casual conversation. Obviously, if, like, you were trying to romance someone, it would be different. But, like, for the most part, I feel like guys just don't talk about their underwear as cavalierly.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
our underwear is fairly boring and basic. We've got
Yeah.
standard types. There's no real variation in them.
You
Yeah.
get cool patterns. You have
You
more room for patterns.
You get
than on
polka
women's
dot.
underwear.
You get
No,
polka
I've
dot
seen,
or
like, pizza. I've seen, like, some weird boy boxers, but they're really cool because you have a lot of room for a cool pattern.
Mm.
But
You have a
point,
lot of
it's just a different pattern on it. There's nothing really different about it.
yeah. There's like nobody makes lace boxers, you
I
know.
mean-
Be surprised.
Oh.
You guys can have silk boxers. I mean, like, there are thongs for men. They're not popular because
no.
thongs are uncomfortable.
Yeah. No. I mean, I can't. I'm not
Look
speaking from
uncomfortable.
experience. It just seems very uncomfortable.
It's a string up your butt.
Yeah.
Nothing about that seems pleasant.
Yeah, that
I
doesn't seem.
understand the function of it if you're wearing, like, leggings or, again, you're trying to woo someone, maybe. Like, I know people who just wear them because they find them comfortable. Like, you know, you do you, whatever. I get their function, but it's a string up your ass.
I personally like, what was it?
Some people must just get used to it, I guess. I
Like
don't know.
some people refer to them as like ass floss or something.
Yeah, that's what.
Butt
I'm not
floss.
actually just bullshitting here. Those are actually a thing.
What,
lace
lace
and men's
boxers?
lace boxers.
Okay, now tell me how many men have actually bought those.
Those are cute.
Okay.
Manties. Oh, they're called manties.
Manties.
Oh.
It just makes me think manatees.
Yeah,
Now I'm just thinking of manatees in
thongs.
underwear.
That's weird.
I mean,
Oh.
to be fair, they put them on some really, really fit individuals in those. I don't know how that would work on.
Was wore it on a mannequin?
No.
no, it was
Oh.
on a hot model,
Like an actual
like a male
ass.
model.
Oh
like,
boy.
think six pack. Think like the definition going into the
V.
hips, like everything.
It
Oh
looked
boy.
good. Like, I think that looked pretty. But I don't
the-
like them being called manties.
Manatees.
I don't think anybody.
I wonder why you don't like that specific
It
word.
makes me think
Yeah.
of manatees, also panties. But
That's what I'm saying.
manatees! Manatees, though. They're sea cows. They're not sexy. They're just cuddly.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Adam's like, what have I signed up for with this episode with all of these people? Tomorrow's enough normally. Alright,
I'm
now.
not saying no.
In my defense, I don't really do anything to cause issues. I just encourage tomorrow's worst elements.
You're like a catalyst for the tomorrow reaction of like multiplying entropy by several thousand.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, I guess like, this is our next subtopic. Another thing that bothers me is, especially, I find Americans do this mainly because, at least in Canada, we grow up learning some basic French, so we can, even if you can't, like, okay, out of a show of hands here, except for like Steven because he's from Quebec, but like we can all reasonably fake French pronunciation, even though we don't remember most of our French. Yeah.
I mean,
Je
also-
ne parle pas le français.
I'm
Okay,
also-
you don't count.
I'm also a very bad example because I was in French immersion for like
Okay,
Fuck, how
you
long?
don't count.
Yeah.
Steven, you can at least fake pronounce certain French words that are commonplace.
Ish.
Like foyer. You know it's called foyer. You know it's not called foyer.
Yeah.
Americans call it foyers, and it bothers me. It's like, no. And they'll say, this is the... Like, they'll say shit. I watch a lot of house tours, and they'll say, like, this is my foyer. It's a French word. And I'm like, you're acknowledging it's a French word, but you're screwing it up. And also, like, the pièce de résistance, the piece de resistance. Like, there's more, but those are the ones that are, like, most commonly heard. And it's just like, oh god, why?
so bad.
Like, and it's not like, if they just... I guess in the States, it's so commonly known as, like, a foyer. But, like, if you took the time to really look it up, you will quickly find it's not a foyer.
I mean, I won't lie, it's not just an American thing, because knowing quite a few Red Seal chefs, I can tell you from experiences that most of them have failed their test at least once. It's got nothing to do with their cooking skills.
It's a Red Seal chef.
Red Seal Chef is the Canadian accreditation for being a culinary, or someone who's gone through culinary school and gone through their apprenticeship. One of the last parts of the test is actually dealing with terminology. If you know anything about cooking at this point, you know that most terminology for cooking is French-based.
Yep.
The amount of cooks that fail because they don't know French, they don't understand French or know the French terms, is a lot higher than the program wants to admit.
I mean,
What
like...
the heck is a sauce vide?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that in dance, too. Like, growing up, I did pretty intense ballet, and my mom was a ballerina, too. Like, she stopped in university because she wanted to become a dance teacher, if not a company ballerina. So, like, there were a lot of people in that world, too. Like, if you couldn't speak French, you couldn't dance. If you didn't understand what a pas de bourrée was, you were fucked. Or if you couldn't understand what a pas de deux is, or an arabesque, or a pirouette, like... Hearing Americans can get, if they're dancers, they can get the French down, but then it's great because you'll hear them like in some like dance TV shows that are American based. You'll hear them say like pas de bourrée and then foyer, and it's like you got one but not the other. Like you tried so hard.
Got so far.
No.
And in the end, it does not matter
Does not.
at all.
It does not.
It does. I feel like we're talking about two different things, Steven.
Maybe.
I think
He's,
we all just died a little inside there anyway.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
For reference, Steven, not Wolfgang, has been playing Cuphead since we essentially started this.
Yep.
So you know,
He's dying a little on the inside.
yeah, all of us are dying on the inside, but
Some of
Steven
us just
Steven
faster
not
than
because
others.
of like linguistic problems.
Yeah. There's also Americans and Canadians mispronouncing Spanish or Latin American words.
Oh boy.
My boyfriend used to work at a Mexican fast food place, and he has had people come in and unabashedly order nachos or quesadillas. But Nachos was the biggest one.
Nachos?
Nachos.
I remember actually I've mentioned this before that when I was in a Mexican restaurant, I have actually heard somebody completely unironically ask the waiter for more jalapenos on their quesadilla in like an actual, like a proper Mexican restaurant, not like a quesada or like a Taco Bell, but just like proper friggin' place. And it took all the strength that I had in my body to not like get up and smack them across the face.
Jalapenos.
But I remembered something even worse.
Oh boy.
Chorizo.
Oh. Chorizo.
Why?
I mean,
no.
Don't.
Fair. Is that actually an issue just because it is not a traditional English word that they can actually get away just from not having experience with it beforehand?
It's for certain things, like, the thing is that Mexican food is very much a commonplace in American cuisine, but to the point where it's heavily appropriated and Americanized, so that most Americans know what a quesadilla or a nacho is, if not from Taco Bell, from, what's the other one that people, like, go all out for? Oh, Chipotle.
Yeah.
Chipotle. That's another one.
Chipotle.
And, like, there's a fucking restaurant called Chipotle, too, and they still can't pronounce it. But, like, that's the thing with some of these, at least Mexican dishes, or, like, they're Spanish words, but they're so commonplace and they're so Americanized that, like, most people know what they are. So when people don't earnestly, it's like, really?
Yeah, and I feel like it's a hard sell. At least to me, it would be a hard sell to convince me that as somebody who lives in North America, you have never, and I repeat, never heard the word chorizo be pronounced in front of you. I think that's an incredibly hard sell.
They also have Taco Bell commercials all the time, and they have chorizo things. Like, even if you watch TV, you've seen a commercial for an Americanized Mexican restaurant. It's like, it's almost as, like, it's like sushi here. Like, most people have had sushi.
Yeah.
It's not North American, but we eat it a lot in North America. Yeah. And if, like, someone didn't know how to pronounce, like, teriyaki...
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
Though to go back a little bit, like, using Taco Bell, I feel like is not really a great example because I feel like that would require Taco Bell to get ingredients that aren't like compost.
So Taco Bell, please sponsor us.
Hey. No, that's all right. I feel like you guys would deliver us just like essentially the same shit that chicken nuggets are made of, what with fertilizer in it.
Oh, that's gross. I've never had Taco Bell, so like I can't. I've had Chipotle once.
Have you ever wanted to fly just based on your own bowel movements?
Oh my God.
I mean, like, to be fair, I'm the wrong person to ask.
And burn everything in your path.
Oh, God.
I'm the wrong person to ask because I have severe stomach problems.
I feel like if you ate like a year's worth of Taco Bell with a plug in your ass, at the end of that year you would have enough fuel to fly to you couldn't power America, I don't think, but you would in a single bound very easily make the Atlantic Ocean.
You know, I'm often told that I'm full of shit, but even that's a little too far for me. I don't want to experience that.
Can you imagine? Like, I bet you would be a Florida man. Florida man eats Taco Bell for a year in the hopes of creating an alternative energy source.
Because it's always fucking Florida.
Yep.
Hey, you know it's a great idea? I'm a Florida person. I'm gonna have, what was it, Epsom salt? Go and eat this nice man's face. Sounds like a great way to spend my evening. Honey, I think this is a great idea. A date idea.
I mean, to be fair,
I mean, the most fun game you can play with any news story is like, is this Florida or not?
Yeah. As someone who grew up and spent, I didn't grow up there, but I spent a good chunk of my childhood there. I would go 2 to 3 times a year because my grandparents lived there for half the year. I can see that happening very easily. Florida is a place where the weather's hot, but it's gross weather sometimes, and then there's a lot of old people. Like, the population is a good solid 70% old people who come down for a few months of the year when it's nice, and then when it's not nice, it's hurricane season. And there's great cheap shopping, but you can go shopping, there's maybe a couple of museums, you can go look at some gators, but that's about all you can do in Florida. And then there's
Go to a
Disneyland.
beach.
And this is also the place with, like, a consistently, like, no matter which township you go to, there's a nude beach. And, like, the other thing, too, is the
Hold
way...
on. I thought we weren't kink shaming in this episode.
I'm not kink shaming, I'm just saying, like, do you see a lot of nude beaches in North or South Carolina?
I
Like,
saw
every
nude-
couple of blocks?
I saw a nudist beach on my, or not that I saw a nudist beach, but I saw a sign for a nudist beach on my way back from Norfolk to Toronto one time.
I mean, but that's
When
one.
I was in Norfolk.
I'm talking along the strip of Miami Beach. There's a nude beach every couple blocks. Not one. Because the thing is
Is your
about
family
Florida...
friendly nudist beach? Do you think
I'll
that they
tell my
have
story
to?
afterwards.
Do you think that they have to kind of like differentiate themselves just because there's so many of them? Like each one of them has to have a shtick.
There's poles.
Like
There's poles that say, here's the beginning of the nude... Like, there's signs. There's little signs. Because, like, the way
Okay.
that it works is, for example, in Miami Beach, you drive down Collins Avenue, and every couple blocks there's a new fucking township. Because, I don't know why it was set up this way, but each township has their own police, fire, and ambulance. And these townships are not that big. Like, they're maybe the distance, like, speaking in Guelph terms, they're maybe the distance from the university to maybe Arkell Road.
okay,
So, like, they're not that big, but imagine that along driving from the edge of Guelph, Clare Road, to the other end of Guelph, but there's these townships, and every single one has their own mayor, their own fire department, their own police department, their own ambulance department. And they're just so small. Like, you could drive for 10 minutes and go through a couple different counties. And if that doesn't set the precedent for Florida, man, I mean, like...
where realistically to get away from your local police, you have to drive for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
Or you could just go into a swamp and hide there.
or that. Well, at the risk of like getting your head bitten off.
Yeah, Florida's a magical place. I miss going there a lot, but we used to go there all the time. To the point where my grandparents had their own place there, and there was in fact a nude beach right across the street. But there was a sand dune. So my grandfather used to walk the same path for about 40 years and never knew there was a nude beach there. So one day, we decided to take my grandparents, two very old Polish and Slovakian people, very lovely and adorable and naive people, like to the point where my mom didn't tell them that she lived with my dad before they were married, like very traditional Polish and like Slavic people. We took them to the nude beach.
Unknowingly?
Knowingly.
Oh,
we are
boy.
like, we're gonna show you what's over the sand dune today.
Okay. That's
It was a
a
really
bad idea.
Oh, all that's going through my head right now is that scene from The Lion King. Everything the light touches is your kingdom. But over that hill, no, that's not safe there. Don't go there, son.
Oh, but we went there.
Oh, but you went there, and then Mufasa had to rescue you, your parents.
So my
Oh,
Oh
grandparents.
my god, that takes the
Everything the light
stampede.
touches. What about that? What the fuck did I just say? I just said everything the light touches.
That makes the whole stampede scene. If the whole stampede scene happened at a nudist beach, that makes that scene a lot more disturbing. Oh my god, just willies everywhere.
Just all willy
My
nilly.
god, it's.
I mean,
oh my
hold
God.
on. This is terrible. Right
He
now.
wasn't even stampeded. He was just like
Pounded by
traumatized to death
Pounded by
by
dicks.
penises.
So
He
instead
got
of
pounded.
wildebeests, we've got
Florida men. Lots of Florida men.
no. Let's get this right. Old naked Florida men.
It
Oh,
wasn't, to
boy.
be fair, when I went to the nude beach that one time, it wasn't. It was predominantly old men and white Eastern European tourists that were slightly overweight. And then the best part was my grandfather was kind of unfazed. He was just like, I don't see this, whatever, it's fine. He was kind of like, what the fuck are you taking me to? But at the same time, this is entertaining, so fine. My grandmother, she had a large, very classy hat on with a wide brim. She had it pulled down over her eyes and was looking down as to not see any rogue penises.
rogue,
until
rogue penises.
a very, very fit black man jogs by. And she looks up, looks my mother dead in the eye, and she goes, so it's true what they say. It is bigger.
Oh my god. Oh
That
my
was when
god.
we took my 86-year-old grandmother to a nudist beach for fun.
Okay, hold on. As someone that at one point in my life regularly jogged, running naked through a nudist beach does not sound comfortable because at some point that thing flopping around while you're running is going to get very, very tiresome.
It's to say
I can't
nothing of
relate.
possibly into a vice grip.
I can't
Like-
relate, but okay.
It's a bad time.
Yeah, no.
There's a reason we like underwear. It keeps things in its place.
Nah, you like manties.
No,
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 no.
no.
Get
Yeah,
a
but what
pump
about
the
no?
brakes.
What?
Get a pump of the brakes.
Just
no.
yeah.
So, yeah. So, nude beaches in Florida are
Oh,
a fun
boy.
time.
Is this just gonna be the episode? Because we've been doing this for 40 minutes.
I mean, we have more hilarious things. We can also. I mean, the other thing you put down was Americans trying to pronounce Japanese words.
Oh
You want to
yeah.
take the lead on that, Adam?
That shit. Well, okay. I mean, I'm not an expert of Japanese.
Are you a
I'm sort of a weeb. I'm not actually a weeb.
Do you identify as a weeb?
I don't identify as a weeb. I identify as somebody who would love to learn Japanese at one point just because this is what I do. I learn languages, and literally nothing else. And just from the amount of subbed anime I've seen, you just start to pick up words and things that you recognize because you put pieces together and start, noticing patterns. And therefore I have a not functional, but nonetheless an existent Japanese vocabulary.
So,
And I swear upon my life, it's especially the worst because my group of friends likes to show me like cringe videos on YouTube.
Oh,
And when I hear frickin' American / white people in general say like, "Oh man, sugoi desu ne," that makes me properly want to fucking like kawaii. I'm like, oh my god, Did you know that Avril Lavigne has a song that is essentially like the weeb anthem?
yeah,
What?
with Hello
Are you
Kitty
kidding?
in it.
Have you not? Have you not
What?
seen this?
It's the cringiest
Okay,
thing ever.
I swear upon my life, it is truly the most cringy thing in the world. It makes me want to, it makes my ribs just curl within my body.
The song is called Hello
Your ribs
Kitty.
already curl in your body.
No, but I mean, rip my own, I feel my ribs digging into my organs as they cave, as my rib...
Oh, God.
To be fair, in that video, she's sitting in a tutu with cupcakes on, drinking sake at a sushi bar. But the song
So,
is called Hello Kitty
Do
by
you
Avril
see
Lavigne.
Do you see what I meant? Yeah, that's the appropriate response.
He grabbed a bottle of whiskey.
Grabbed a bottle of Spice Box spiced whiskey. I drove here and I don't even care.
Wait, do you want to open a bottle of Bartonura?
What is Bartonura?
You've never had
Cheap
Bartonura?
Jewish kosher wine.
I might have.
If you've ever had wine here, you've had it.
Quite possibly then.
It's great. Anyways, so that's as cringy as
That's
you would think.
that's Hello Kitty, and it makes me so angry.
It makes
So
you want to
angry.
physically hurl.
I swear I have had indigestion as a result of that song.
How do you feel about the phrase "Porqué desu"?
Wait, what was that again?
Porqué desu.
Jesus Christ.
Well, no.
I was more
That's
worried
not
about.
even me who started it. That's Vince who started it.
I was
Vince
more
says
worried about the
Porque
line like a
Desune.
fat kid on Smarties.
Yeah, that was just like, and you're one to talk. not that she's fat, but like to make fun of fat kids on Smarties while making a music video about being the most gigantic weeb there is.
Jesus Christ.
I feel like she's kind of one to talk, really.
Anyways, so that I guess Adam, how do you then feel about Filthy Frank teaching people Japanese? What are your thoughts on that in general? That was
On
also one of the
Filthy
things.
Frank, his like Japanese.
His how to
I
speak Japanese.
Personally, I love them just because like they're so. You're not like because he's not teaching people how to speak Japanese. He's making a humorous video based on his knowledge of Japanese in order to say stupid shit over and over. Like he's just like. He's guising it as like this educational video in order to just say stupid shit.
Your Japanese sucks.
Japanese sucks. So it's not I feel like if you take anything that Filthy Frank does at face value, you're not
his target
paying
audience.
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not his target audience and you're not paying attention. Not that I'm saying that there's some deep like philosophical meaning, like
yes.
truly in reality, Joji Miller is a philanthropist with a deep message on the corruption of human society and its moral values. I'm just saying you're just not in on the joke.
He for those who don't know, Filthy Frank, I would say, is a parody account. He uses a lot of satire.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess if you want to get some meaning from it. He's fucking wonderful. How else would you describe Filthy Frank? Like, if you're saying you can't take it at face value, then that's irony or satire, or you just can't take it at face value. There's a little bit of that when he makes his videos about like I was born in the wrong generation or the Weeaboo video. Like those ones are definitely satirical.
I don't know if they're satirical, if they're just blatantly pointing out just stupid shit that people do. And essentially the like stupidity of humanity.
But on some level, it is kind of satire because in order to do that, he's showing or he's being the worst parts of the internet or those people, like the vegan one, where he just walks around and yells, "I'm vegan" at people and throws lettuce at them. Like that's satire in it. Like that's how he's showing it.
Or
Yeah,
the prank videos where he just
prank
does
videos.
random crap and just sets it to prank.
Yeah, there's more stuff that's more I think satirical on his channel, like stuff like just girly things.
Yeah.
Like that to
Oh,
me
God.
is just such a great example of it. But
So then, like, yeah, he does use a bit of that. Some of it is nonsensical, and some of it is... I'm trying to think of the way it has been categorically described on an academic level, because it's hilarious to read, though. Like, academic people try to discern meme culture. They would say it
is
is
this a real thing?
It's a real thing.
Is this a thing that art students do when they get bored? They write their papers on Filthy Frank.
I've seen people do shit like that. Like, on the internet, there was a video by... I think someone wrote the thesis on it, but it was something about how Community and other, like, for those who don't know, Community is an extravagant, over-the-top show about a group of college students, and they're talking about how that's postmodernist humor in line with a lot of the other nonsensical, extravagant things people do, like Filthy Frank trying to teach people Japanese by getting them to say, "I eat ass."
Yeah,
like
or
that
420
to them.
Blaze It.
Or 420 Blaze It. That, apparently, to academics, is postmodernist meme culture. And it's the funniest thing to read books about what memes are, how culture is translated, or even explaining to your parents what a meme is.
I try. I liked the definition for quite a while of an inside joke for the entire world, which is not entirely accurate, but the inside joke part is sort of.
I read in a book once that it was oh god, I told you this and you were better explaining it than me. It was hereditary, it was like a gene, a hereditary unit to transfer information, but culture.
That was the initial, that was what I believe it was Richard Dawkins who actually coined the term, who thought of as a meme more as less as this kind of like joke, and more as he tried to present the concept of heredity of certain traits, not by genetics, but rather by instruction of culture and instruction of behavior, relating to concepts such as like natural selection, evolutionary psychology, and such things. That is what I believe, from what I understand. I'm not fully clear, and I'm not an expert on the literature in that, but that's what I believe he originally put forward the term meme as. So don't quote me on any of this, but that's just that's my understanding.
I've seen it used that way too in a book on like 19th century classical composers, that a meme was a unit of culture transferred across not linearly through generations, but horizontally across generations. So, like, not linearly through from generation to generation, but more so across a generation throughout the world. Like, if you think about it, like, culture is passed from generation to generation, but memes are passed within generations.
They don't really continue past their current generation.
Exactly. Like, we talked about this last time, like, Darude Sandstorm, for us is a meme, but for people who are 5 years younger than us, they don't know what it is.
Okay, so it isn't actually then comparable really to a gene, because a gene can't be passed horizontally.
Yeah.
It has to be passed down from father to son, but culture doesn't work that way.
I've seen it described as both ways, but what I think makes the most sense is the one that talks about it can be the thing is it can be transferred linearly too. I'm trying to think of examples. Like,
is it bad? The only example coming to mind right now is, it's like an STD.
And that's what makes this our podcast sucks.
Oh boy.
Am I wrong?
No.
An STD is very definitely transferred horizontally.
You can also be
you're right about that.
From parent to child too.
As well. Yeah. Rarely, I would hope.
No, certain ones
are very persistent.
No, certain ones, once you have them for life, like gonorrhea or AIDS. And I paid attention in health class, okay?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I paid attention too, but we were never very, I feel like I was never very clear on, like, they said, like, it can be passed from father to son or mother to son or, like, from parent to child, but I was just like, so wait, so if you get one of the permanent ones, does that just mean all your children will always have it as well?
I think it's more from mother to child, because, I don't know, this is where my knowledge ends, because they didn't really go into that in health class, but it's usually from mother to child. That's usually how STDs were described, at least in health class. Comment down below if you think otherwise.
Or just straight up correct us.
STD.
Your favorite STD.
What's your favorite STD, Steven?
I don't think I have a favorite STD.
What's your favorite STD, Steven? He hasn't answered. That's his face for I haven't answered.
I'm trying to think of which one I would like to say.
What's the most easily curable STD?
Ooh.
That's tough. That's tough.
I'm literally Googling right now curable STDs.
Or treatable, I don't know.
Most of them are treatable at this point. Yeah. Or manageable with medication. So, that's kind of...
It's hard to say. I mean, for a while, myself and my group of friends had an obsession with the disease syphilis, to the point where I think we were making jokes about the Yu-Gi-Oh card. We had thought of a Yu-Gi-Oh card, or we had heard it somewhere on the internet. I'm sure it's cropped up somewhere. But of being like, I attribute my 3 disease-type monsters to summon syphilis, the sexually transmitted knight. it's I don't know. I don't know if I'm quoting something or if that was organically generated amongst ourselves. But syphilis, the sexually transmitted knight, remains my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card.
I've heard the idea of summoning STDs, but I've never heard of syphilis the knight.
Syphilis, the sexually or no. It was sorry. It was Syphoria, the sexually transmitted knight, because it was a polymerization card. It was a fusion card. Now I recall it was Syphoria, the sexually transmitted knight.
My favorite thing about STDs was when they made stuffed animals about them. You know
what?
You've never seen the stuffed STDs? They have cholera.
Oh, you mean in the cholera? I don't think is an STD.
It's not, but I'm saying they have other. But
you mean in the UC bookstore?
They
right?
don't just sell them there. They sell body parts that you can buy. You can buy a scrotum. You can buy.
Of course, that's the first thing you'd think of.
You can buy a heart, but then you can also buy diseases. You can get cholera, you can get AIDS, you can get syphilis, you can also get tuberculosis.
Now I recall what you're talking about.
They're stuffed animals. They're
I just thought. See, the thing that immediately came to my mind when you said, no, I've seen those.
Giant plush microbes sold by ThinkGeek for people who love science.
Yeah, but the thing that immediately came to mind when you mentioned it the first time was more like when you say sexual STD stuffed animals. I was thinking just I don't know, like, how would you do this? Like, frickin', like, Barry, the venereal disease bear, like, or frickin', like, Steve, the chlamydia fox, like...
Did you bring
I
us
don't
into those things?
What?
Bring
Oh,
our
sorry.
name- use our
You
name.
use
Yeah.
their name in vain,
Well,
Adam.
their name is vain. I don't think your name is being used in vain. I think your name is being used in an educational purposes.
No, Steve's
my
just
God.
that,
Teaching children.
Steve's just that common name that like people use just to like as their
I literally
male
when I was-
generic name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve.
When I was
Or Chad.
I
Chad's the generic white boy name.
Steve's like one of my.
I wouldn't say Chad is the generic
But
white boy name. It's a.
No, it's the like meme generic white boy name. Like if you're gonna dress up,
It's a,
I've seen
it's
on
a
the internet.
douchebag name.
It's the douchebag white boy name. Like you wear shorts, you wear a button up rolled up at the sleeve, and you stand like this. Have you ever seen people dress up as white boys and they say, "I'm dressed up as Chad. This is my friend Chad." This is like that's the internet white boy meme name. At least you're not a Chad, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
essentially.
I knew what Chad.
I mean,
was.
Steven is a totally like fine name. I have nothing against it, but
Thank you.
Steve is such a like hateful name to me. I don't know what it is, but I've always despised the name Steve.
Every time I hear Steve, I just think of the Fly the Conchords rap battle song.
Oh.
Just like it's like who you been speaking to? Who's been telling you these things? Was it Steve? Steve.
So wait, do you hate it when I call you Steve then? Do I call you Steve? I don't know if I have.
It's honestly, it's become numb at this point. Like, I don't, I prefer Steven, but most people call me Steve, of the people we know. So.
Holy shit.
What did you look
Sorry,
up?
I was looking through the diseases that they were doing for the plush toys, and all of them come with descriptions. And at first, they started out pretty like normal, like, "Hey, mono, the kissing disease. A kiss is just a kiss, unless she's around. 95% of the population has encountered this, sweetie pie. Just think about the fun you can have giving mono to somebody without all the medical complications."
Oh man, we gotta.
Or,
That's incredible.
or red blood cell, the life of the party. His best trick is to hold his breath until he turns blue. Invite him to your next bash, and he's sure to show you a bloody good time.
Oh man.
And then there's the Halloween gift set, which
Oh,
includes the mini amoeba, Amoebus proteus with a black mask, mini anthrax with a witch's hat, mini Ebola costumed as the movie Frankenstein, mini flesh-eating disease with fangs, and mini the Black Death with skull and crossbones embroidery.
Why?
I want those so
It's
badly.
incredible.
Mom, if you're listening, can you get me syphilis for Christmas?
I
On that note, we have been recording for an hour and 5 minutes now, and it is at this point that I will say, yes, this counts as an episode. I don't know if this is going to be a spin-off, but
No, we can use this as an episode. I like
we
it.
can use this as an episode. So,
They
Thank
have
you.
A sperm.
yes,
Yeah,
and
they
it's
also
got.
have an egg
Does it have a little
too,
bow
right?
tie?
Yes, it has a
Yeah.
little
That's
bow tie.
incredible.
He's a classy sperm.
Anyway, thank you all for listening to the four of us shoot the shit about friggin' mispronunciation, giving our family members syphilis, not Christmas. Giving our family members Christmases,
It's
I mean,
Christmas
it's
now,
something
you
many
can
of
use
us
them
can
for
do.
syphilis.
I guess. Yeah,
The gift
wow.
of Christmas.
So, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
one is your favorite STD? Oh god, I have no idea.
I
Also, microbes.
Yeah, I can't believe that was a... I never thought that would be a question I would be asked, is what is your favorite STD? Though, honestly, I should have expected that because I'm in bio, and we're all psychopaths.
Yep.
So,
A little bit.
alright, so that's about it. Thank you for listening to us talk about our favorite STDs, our least favorite words in the English language, and pronunciations of words both in the English language and beyond, and just this.
Nude beaches, too.
Nude beaches, too. Taking family members to nude beaches.
Sounds like a party. Like this podcast if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe below and tweet us at our podcast sucks. If you want to see more content from us, we have a Facebook page that is also our podcast sucks. And if you happen to particularly like me, I have my own YouTube channel as well. That's Tamara Aaron. It'll be linked in the description down below. And Adam is the owner of our Twitter, so if you want to hear Adam's stream of consciousness, head on over there and follow us there.
Yeah. One day I will get fully into the stream of consciousness, but for now.
It's
We-
like half conscious.
We have sparse shit posting,
That's great.
so follow our Twitter page and
support us on Patreon.
support us on Patreon. I don't know why you would do that, but we'd appreciate it. But we don't know why you would do that.
We have actual goals.
I swear to God, one of these days. Anyway,
Thanks so much to Steven and Steven for joining us
Yes.
on our podcast. You
Our-
can not find their social medias unless they tell us that they want them in this podcast.
I'm
Because-
tied up in just paying rent and dealing with Stockholm Syndrome, so it's not really like I have any connection to the internet.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't really have anything that needs plugging here.
I feel like we're good. But nonetheless, thank you guys for being guest stars on the show.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
And that's about it. I guess I will play the outro song and cut myself off.